What's your name?
My name's Kevin Chamberlin. I was born Seth Kevin Chamberlin, but I had a little lisp as a kid, so Seth sounded like Theth. So I cut the Seth, and I'm Kevin Chamberlin.
And what might people know you for?
People would know me from my Broadway work. I've done 10 Broadway shows, and my film work. I was in films like Road to Perdition and Die Hard with a Vengeance. And my TikTok work. I have over 10.2 million followers. So, but mostly people know me from Jessie, which is on Disney Channel. I played the lovable butler Bertram.
What's one of your biggest career highlights?
I think one of my biggest career highlights was a play called Dirty Blonde, which was directed by James Lapine and developed for me by James Lapine and the playwright Claudia Scheer. And it was written for me, and we opened on Broadway in 2000, and it was a big hit.
And what's your favorite project that you've worked on?
I think I have two favorite projects. It would be Dirty Blonde, which I just mentioned, which opened on May 1st of 2000, and the next morning we all got Tony nominations, so that was really cool. And the musical Seussical, which is based on the works of Dr. Seuss. I played Horton the Elephant, and I also got a Tony nomination for that. And it's now done in community theaters and high schools all around the country, and it means a lot to me.
So what's your favorite movie that you aren't in?
That I'm not in? Oh, my favorite movie is a little tiny independent film called Local Hero, but a much more commercial film, of course, is my favorite is Star Wars. And even though it was a long time ago, it is still running in lots of different reincarnations. So I'd make a good Mandalorian or an outlaw. I'm available.
Where did you go to college?
I went to Rutgers University, the State University of New Jersey, on the banks of the old Raritan.
And what did you study there?
I studied acting. I got a Bachelor of Fine Arts in acting.
Who was Mason Gross?
Mason Gross. This is a really interesting story. He was quite the Renaissance man. He was the president of Rutgers from 1959 to 1971, but in the 50s he was a top-notch game show panelist on shows like Think Fast and Two for the Money. So he was a pretty well-rounded guy.
Did you have a favorite class?
I think my favorite class has to be acting. I learned how to do what I do today, how to be truthful under imaginary circumstances.
What was the most important thing you learned at Rutgers?
The most important thing I learned at Rutgers was how to cook for myself, life maintenance, how to live as an adult, doing laundry, paying bills, but also I learned how to act and how to do what I make a living at today.
What was your biggest challenge while attending Rutgers?
My biggest challenge, probably, at Rutgers was really trying to balance my general studies with my acting classes, because I had voice, movement, acting, theater history, but then I also had classes like criminology and English lit. And so staying up all night, working on rehearsing shows and stuff, and then also having exams due, it was a challenge.
So how did you overcome it?
I pulled a lot of all-nighters. On the banks of the old Raritan, my boys, where old Rutgers evermore shall stand. For has she not stood since the time of the flood on the banks of the old Raritan? Oh, that's an oldie but a goodie.
Well, what did you like to do in your free time?
Well, in my free time, I actually like to go see theater. I couldn't get enough. I would go up to New York and see shows. I saw Sunday in the Park with George, the original cast, directed by James Lapine, written by Stephen Sondheim, and I would later work with James Lapine on Dirty Blonde. I got to see groundbreaking productions like Amadeus and Equus and big musicals like La Cage aux Folles. And then I would also go see student productions to support my fellow students and see what kind of work they were doing at all the different theaters. I think there was 7 to 8 different theaters at Rutgers at that time. I think there's even more now.
Do you have a favorite memory from Rutgers?
I do have a favorite memory. We created a cabaret theater. The students got together, and because Rutgers doesn't necessarily do musicals as much, we wanted to do musicals in a small space. So we found an empty space and created the Rutgers Cabaret. And I actually got to direct my first musical there. It was a musical called Is There Life After High School? And it was a flop on Broadway that year. And I did the first amateur production of it in the Rutgers Cabaret. And the writer and composer of the show came to see it and really loved it.
What was your first acting job post-college?
My first acting job was summer stock on Cape Cod. How cool is that? I got to do Guys and Dolls with Joey Travolta and Donna Pescow, and I played Nicely Johnson. And just recently, this past year, I got to play Nicely 40 years later at the Kennedy Center. And I got a Helena Hayes Award for my performance, which is really cool and kind of a full circle moment.
Have you ever had a fat sandwich?
Oh, have I had a fat sandwich? Oh yeah. Daryl's, nothing better. Oh, mozzarella cheese, tomatoey goodness. I love a fat Daryl.
What's the biggest difference between California and New Jersey?
Well, besides the weather, there's the humidity of New Jersey versus the dryness of California. But I love a big New Jersey laugh. Out in California, they laugh like this. Oh, that's funny.
North or South Jersey?
Oh, South Jersey. I grew up in South Jersey. I think South Jersey actually has the best Philly cheesesteaks and the best pizza.
What about Central? Does it even exist?
Oh yeah, Central Jersey exists. Princeton is one of my favorite Central Jersey towns. In fact, one of my first jobs was at the McCarter Theater in Princeton, and one of the shows I did there, Smoke on the Mountain, transferred off Broadway, and that was my first show in New York.
Pork roll or Taylor ham?
Oh, pork roll. Pork roll on a big fluffy roll with a fried egg.
Pizza or bagels?
Pizza or bagels? Do I have to choose? How about a pizza bagel?
What's a misconception people might have about actors?
That we're self-centered and egotistical, which is totally not true. By the way, who are you and what is this for?
What's a misconception you had about acting?
That it was going to be 24 hours of fun and I would work all the time and I wouldn't have any downtime. And growing up as an actor, it's all about learning how to use your downtime effectively.
What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
The best piece of advice I ever received was from my father, who told me to go the extra mile. Always give 110%. Most people give 70, 80%. If you give 110%, people are going to remember you.
And lastly, what advice would you give to a student applying for college?
Find a college that's the perfect fit for you, where the faculty really excites you, that they're working professionally in the business. You know, I got my first job from one of my teachers. And find something that's affordable. I picked Rutgers because it was the state university, and in-state tuition was comparatively really affordable compared to other schools around the country. And it changed my life, and it can change yours.
On the banks of the old Red Sand, my friend, where old Rutgers ever watched us stand. Or has she not stood since the time of the flood?